Good morning, girlfriends talking. Happy Saturday. It's your host, Ramona Torres, with no eyebrows and no eyelashes. All natural on a Saturday. Can't wear makeup every day. Got to give the skin a break. Welcome for joining us this morning. Um, if you have not already shared our page, like our page, invite a girlfriend, invite a sister, invite a neighbor. Today we have my good friend Gloria, and she's going to be sharing what it is to create confidence in your life. And so just come on in, give you a couple minutes to join us, invite a friend, grab a cup of coffee. I have my coffee here and I have a protein shake. Haven't had breakfast this morning. That's a breakfast for me is a protein shake when I'm busy and going. So we'll go ahead and bring Gloria on. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Good morning, Gloria. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited.
Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. I'm so excited. Gloria, tell my girlfriends a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Gloria. I am a certified life coach and health coach, also getting my certification in the Enneagram. So I do that, but that's just a small part of me, and it is part of me because of who I am otherwise. I am a wife. We've been married for almost 25 years. This year will be 25 years. We have 6 kids. So my kids' ages really range. I have a 23-year-old, she's married, a 21-year-old, and he is gallivanting around Costa Rica right now. And I have a 18, a 16, then we have a 9-year gap, and we have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. So that's who I am in my titles in this world. But who I am mostly is I'm a daughter of God, and I just love what He's done in my life. I grew up in the Amish and Mennonite culture here in America, and so that has shaped a lot of my life and my growing up and my beliefs and my um, things that I've had to work through, work out of. And so that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So, what in your life have you felt unconfident about? What has affected you to cause you to be able to talk to women now about creating confidence in their life?
So this was such a huge thing in my life because if you would have known me from the time I was very little, I was mouthy. My mom was kind of always afraid of what would come out of my mouth. And so I did not appear unconfident in so many, even just growing up. I came across maybe even as cocky, maybe I came across kind of sassy, a little bit of a know it all. And so people would look at me and assume that I was confident. And that was a huge facade in a way that I was carrying. And I always just imagined that I would grow up and, once I finally was an adult, it would kick in, right? Like that's just kind of what I thought that I would be. Um, I would understand it. I would have that confidence. I wouldn't have to fake it, once I was finally an adult. So I didn't really worry about it so much in my teens and stuff. But then when I had kids, I loved being a mom, but my confidence really took a beating because all of a sudden I realized, hold it, I'm an adult and I'm still not confident. And one of the hugest areas for me, growing up in the way that I did, I understood that I was saved through faith in Jesus Christ. I understood that. But linked right behind that was works to the point where they were almost intertwined. And that really shook my confidence of who I was in Christ. And I battled that. I battled that. I had anxiety over that of like, was I good enough? And was I actually saved enough to go to heaven? And that was a battle in my 20s. And just struggling through that. And then as a young mom, I had so much fear around my kids. And what if something happened to me? What if something happened to my kids? And like, it was crazy, and it was really starting to control me. And when I was about 25, I started having panic attacks along with all of this anxiety, just trying to hold up this facade of I'm okay, I know what I'm doing, um, my life is all put together, and I'm a freaking out mess. And I started in with a panic attacks. Didn't even know what panic attacks were. The internet wasn't even much around much at that time, and I didn't know, I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. And of course that brought more anxiety, and then that circled around to, well, if I die, am I actually going to heaven? So much in my life. And so then finally at 30, I was like 29, 30, and that God just broke through to me of knowing who I was in him. And that took that fear of who I was in Christ away, and had just spent so much time of like seeking God and seeking that. And so it's like, okay, I get it. He loves me. I have that. But then, interestingly enough, that fear of pleasing God got transferred to pleasing people. And so now I knew, okay, I'm going to heaven. Check, got that. But am I validated among people? And now that started that I know that it was there before, but it wasn't my overlying lack of confidence. My overlying lack of confidence was between me and God and what's going to happen. And now it was between me and people. What are people going to think of me? How am I going to, I didn't mention this earlier, but I homeschooled all my kids. And so now that lack of confidence just ballooned into that of like, I'm ruining my kids. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And that freaked me out. And so like every year I would research, homeschooling, I would research curriculum, and I would just like switch curriculums. I would switch curriculums on my kids like every year. And because I knew I was ruining them. Anyway, so I was a hot mess. And then that was really affecting my marriage. And that was taking that down because I needed validation from people so much.
Mhm.
And it put me in the people pleasing. I wanted to be accepted by the other moms in my world. I wanted my husband to be beyond thrilled with me at all times, right? And I wanted to know that I wasn't going to ruin my kids, because as a homeschooling mom, if your kids get messed up, this is where your brain goes. If your kids don't make it, it's all your fault and there's no one else to blame.
I homeschooled one, so I totally get
Did
it.
you? It's freaky, right? And so that was just wrecking my life. And it was just, it was taking me down. It was taking my health down, because you can't live in anxiety like that and stress like that and have good health. And it was a full circle, but I was pursuing it, trying to fix my health, because I felt like something was wrong with me physically. And if I could figure out what was wrong with me physically, then I wouldn't have all this. That's how unconfidence really just like, it was the unconfidence, living in the people pleasing mode, was controlling my daily life. And it was overwhelming.
Former people pleaser here. I'm like this 51 that like I can't do that anymore. So the name of your coaching business is Create Confidence. So is it actually possible for someone to create confidence? Can you create it?
Yes.
A little bit about.
Okay. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing with the coaching business, because of that backstory. And so how I came from that into confidence is, let me back up and tell you about a day in my life back then. So it was another year. It was another homeschooling year. And I was freaking out. My kids were coming to high school. So you can kind of fudge your way through in those elementary years, but high school, you can't fudge it anymore. And it's make it or break it at this point. And I was freaked out. I couldn't sleep at night. My brain was just going crazy. Our marriage was suffering. Anyway, that year I decided, okay, I've been fudging it. I know, like I have to get like really perfect with this. So I went that year and I bought the one of the most expensive curriculums out there. And at this point, you have to understand, I have 4 kids I'm homeschooling, and I've homeschooled for 10 years because at kindergarten, my oldest was entering ninth grade, and I should be seasoned. I should know what I'm doing. This is 10 years, but I'm still completely freaked out. And I went and bought the most, maybe not the most, one of the most expensive Cadillac curriculums out there that's been around for ages. Everybody knows it's the best. And if your kids do this, they're going to be okay. So I went and I bought the whole set for all 4 kids. It cost me $5,000 that year. And I had never spent that much on curriculum before. And it was like, okay, I'm all in. This is what we're doing. And I remember that day so clearly. These boxes showed up on my front steps, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so exciting. And at that time, I had my schoolroom set up in a base in our basement, and I had this long. I think the table was 6 foot long. Was like a folding table that was my desk that year, and I unpacked the curriculum, and I'm not kidding you, it filled my entire table, and it was stacked like 4 feet high on the table. It was overwhelming. And I sat down there and I started like paging through it, and I bawled. I'm like, this is too much. I can't figure this out. I've been homeschooling for 10 years and this is like burying me, and I cannot do this. And I was like, I can't. It's too overwhelming. I can't. I packed it up and shipped it back. And this weight just lifted off of me. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have to homeschool the way that resonates with me, my mom style, my mothering style, my teaching style, my kids' learning style, our lifestyle as a family. I have to understand what that is and then teach into that. That
Right.
was one day. The second wake up call day was my husband and I had been constantly at odds and fighting and bickering and feeling like I would never get it good enough for him. I was 100% into pleasing, people pleasing mode. I needed him to validate me and feeling unvalidated. And I remember going back to my bedroom and I was laying on my bed and I was crying and I was upset. And I remember laying there and I told God, I said, I give up. I'm like, I'm not even going to try anymore. Like, what's the point? I'm done trying. I got to that point where I was like sick of trying. And I remember it so plainly. I was laying there and God said to me, everything that you do for others, you're doing it as an act of worship to me. Look up, let me validate you. Look up, let me give you my approval. You're not going to get it right. And he told me that day. You're not going to get it right. You're not going to, but just look to me for guidance. Stop looking to other people. And I was angry that day and I was hurt that day. And I said, okay, God, I'm not doing this for anybody else, but I'll do this for you.
Amen.
And that's it, because I love you and I know that you love me. So I'm going to do whatever you put in front of me to do. And that today, that is taking care of my kids and washing my dishes. But I am doing this as an act of worship to you because I'm done trying. Those 2 pivotal days were my first steps into creating confidence. And because I did not have somebody in my life to help me during that time, it was a long journey. But man, I believe in it. And those moments is what really drives me to help other women, because I know that it's possible. And you and I talked the other day, but like, if you have that other person to help you, to no judgment there, no barriers. You're not trying to win that person's approval. You have that coach, you have that mentor, you have that girlfriend. This process can be a lot faster than it was in my own life.
Yeah.
But I know that you can create a new confidence. And that is how it is taking your eyes, the very first step, taking your eyes off of you and putting them on to Christ.
Yes. It kind of reminded me of the story of Peter walking on the water, right?
Absolutely.
As long as he didn't have his eyes on Jesus, he was starting to go down. But the minute he put his eyes on Jesus, he was able to get through. And so, yes. So what causes lack of confidence in us? What are some of the things that you see that cause the lack of confidence in specifically us women today?
And that's a really good question, because as a coach, and now coaching different women of different ages, different backgrounds, and it's a couple of different things. And this is the part that's so fascinating to me, is this is not ever a one size fits all. And that's where like coaching and things like that are so powerful, because it's your situation. And I've read books, I've gotten coaching myself, I've gotten training, I've gotten all this stuff. And those are all fabulous. And I love that. But power of like one-on-one coaching or group coaching or girlfriend talking is a thing that what my cause of lack confidence might be totally different for you.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I see coming up over and over and over are in a nutshell, a few. So one of them is the lack of confidence of I'm just not enough in some way. I'm not pretty enough, thin enough, smart enough, educated enough, rich enough, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But that's a huge one. I'm not enough in some way.
Yes.
That's one. Another one is the whole people pleasing thing. And I have a podcast that I did on it. And this is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, because when I am in people pleasing mode, my main reason for doing that is I want someone else to validate me, because I'm not validating myself.
Yes.
So that whole thing of just that lack of confidence that comes from like, I'm not worth validating myself. I have to have somebody else to do it for me. Their lack of worth and understanding their worth in Christ. That is the first thing that I do with coaching people. And I'm like, where are you at with how do you see your worth? And everybody grows up differently, but I know that in a lot of religious, legalistic settings, to say, man, I'm good, I'm worth it, I'm a great mom. Where I grew up, you don't say things like that, because that's pride. And pride is very looked down upon, to the point where you can't even be proud of your own children hardly. But so you have this whole mentality of I can't be prideful. You can't be proud. I can't be proud. But so then you go to the other side of like, I am nothing.
Yes.
And you don't recognize that your worth is because God made you. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
One of my favorite slogans, sayings, things that I say to my people over and over is, there is nothing that can add to your worth. There is nothing that you can do to add to your worth. There is nothing that anyone else can do to add to or take away from your worth. Yeah. Your worth is set 100%. Those are some of the things that I see that cause a lack of confidence, of just not understanding our worth, just because God decided that we belong on this earth. That's it.
Yeah, I struggled with all those things for so many years. And when I gave my life to Christ, I wish I could have said that it was immediate for me, but it wasn't. because I didn't get plugged in, because I didn't understand the importance of discipleship, because I didn't understand that I needed to get with the Titus 2 woman who would be able to, teach me things. And so that took me forever. So I'm 51, I'm going to be 52, and I'm finally there. And it's so exciting. And even not growing up in a religious home, because I didn't grow up in a home. We were Cheesters. We went to church on Christmas and Easter. There was 4 of us. My older siblings did go to Catholic church and did have some, experience there. But by the time I came along, briefly, maybe 7 years, and then my parents started to separate, and at 9 they split up, and and got divorced, and so I didn't have any of that. So it was tough. So all those things that you mentioned, I recognize. So if someone wants to start creating confidence in their own life, what's the first step they should take?
And that's something I've gone around and around, because I do believe there is no one size fits all, because depending on where your lack of confidence is coming from. But here's the deal. If you want to take that first step in creating confidence, you're going to have to start viewing yourself as worthy. I have worth. I have complete worth.
Yes.
Even if I mess up, that doesn't make me a failure. That doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me unworthy. It just means I messed up. Okay, I'll try again. That is what stops us so many times, is feeling like we have to get it right. We're never going to.
I coach some women on losing weight, right? And so I always tell them, when they tell me I messed up today, thank God for new mercies.
Yes.
Every morning.
Absolutely.
Thank you that He allows us to wake up the next day and get it right.
Yeah. So that's the first thing with it, is just accepting 100% your worth. Hand in hand with that, they're like this. They're like intertwined completely, is accepting responsibility for every single emotion that you have. And that is freedom. That is 100% freedom. And that gives you so much confidence. No longer can you say, I am mad because I am hurt because I can't pursue my dream because this and this. I can't because of this. No. When you take that responsibility 100% for your emotions,
Yes.
and I teach you how. It's so fun and it's so fascinating, because so many of us can feel our emotions. We can feel them, but we don't stop and think. And I say this to my coaching clients all the time, like, okay, you're feeling frustrated. What are you thinking? They're like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm thinking. I can only feel my feeling. So we live out of our feelings. Our feelings control our actions. Our actions control our results. We get that one real good, the action result things, that makes sense to us. But we forget a feeling can only come by a thought. And so often those thoughts are just boom, in and out of your brain so fast, but they produce a feeling. And those thoughts feel so true. We don't even stop and question them.
Yes.
We don't even stop and say, wait, where does that thought even come from? And do I want that thought in my life? And that is really powerful, because sometimes, like, they say, well, it just is. That thought is just true. Like, let me give you an example. Like, as a mom, okay, so I feel frustrated about my kids. My kids frustrate me. And I say, okay, why are you feeling frustrated at your kids? And they're like, they're so bad. They don't listen to me. I'm like, really? Like, they're so bad and they don't listen to you? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, how much of the time do they not listen to you? And what do you mean they don't listen to you? Like, 100% of the time, it doesn't matter what you say, they don't ever listen to you? I'm like, well, no, of course. I mean, they're not lying and cheating and stealing. I'm like, oh, so you have a really good kid. And they're like, what? But he doesn't, do the dishes. And I have to tell him every single day to do the basic stuff. I'm like, okay. but that doesn't mean he's a bad kid. And if you can change your thought of, I have an amazing kid. This kid, he's not doing bad stuff. He just needs to be trained. And that's why I get to be his mom and I get to train him how to be a responsible adult. That's awesome. And I just get to do that. And I just get to do that with pleasure. I get to enjoy that. It totally changes. The kid still has to be reminded maybe every single day, but you're doing that from a place of peace and confidence because, of course, he's not going to do his chores because he doesn't want to. Well, I don't want to clean my bathroom. It's okay that he doesn't want to. You just get to teach him. So that's what I do. So building the confidence is the thing of you're going to take responsibility for 100% of your emotions. And that comes from understanding, listening to your thoughts, changing your thoughts about your circumstances. Because your circumstances are they just are. They are just basic, dry, boring facts. But we link a thought to those circumstances. One of my favorite illustrations that I love to give is, so we think, well, but some things just are. So I love the illustration about, okay, what if two men bought flowers for their wife and brought it home? Everybody's like, oh, that's so sweet. That's so romantic. That's because you choose to think that buying flowers is romantic or sweet or nice. But as a young bride, I got very upset if my husband brought me flowers because we didn't have a lot of money and he paid what, $10, $12, $15 on these flowers that were going to die in 3 days? I mean, first of all, I need a new shirt or at least get me a plant that's going to live for more than 3 days. Okay, the circumstance was husband brought flowers. My thought, that's a waste of money, made me feel frustrated. The next person's thought was, oh my word, that is so romantic, made them feel loved. Circumstances don't create the thoughts and the feelings. Your thoughts create your feelings, not what happened. That's one of my favorite examples. And another one is, okay, so people can't make you feel anything. You choose to feel what you think. So let's say you went upstairs and you got dressed, you did your makeup, you put on your shirt, and you're going to go out. You're going to go out either with your husband or your girlfriends. And as you're upstairs in that mirror, you have had thoughts about what you look like. Maybe you love how you look tonight and you have this, this clothing on that you feel good in. And you're like, I look great tonight. I like what I see. Or you might have thoughts of like, my hair isn't going, my makeup isn't right, this shirt's too tight, I don't like the way this fits. You had a thought, you went downstairs, and the person that you're going with says, you look amazing. If you thought that you looked amazing before you came downstairs, you're going to be like, thank you. And if you didn't like how you looked before you came downstairs, you're going to be like, no, I don't. I don't like how I feel in this shirt. It's too tight. It's too yucky. My hair didn't go. Nothing went right. He or she, whoever you're going with, didn't make you feel anything. They can't make you feel anything. You felt what you felt because of what you thought before you even came to them.
Wow. This is good stuff, girl. Where was you years ago? I could have saved a lot of heartache.
And so people are like, wait, so it's my fault if I'm mad? But look at what they're doing to me. And I'm like, I know that sucks that they're doing that to you. I'm sorry that they're doing that to you. And you don't have to like that. And you don't have to even accept that. But they're not the ones that's making you feel that. You just get to feel what you want to feel. One of the things with this, and I really want so badly for everyone to know this is not like I'm saying be happy 100% of the time, feel amazing 100% of the time. Okay, we're live on earth. When we want that, we're longing for heaven. We're longing for paradise. We were made for Eden, so we long for that. But that's not reality. That's not earth. Life is hard. We're going to have hard days. We're going to feel upset. We're going to feel frustrated. And that's okay. It doesn't have to define you. And so, especially like those people who I'm coaching that are living in a very hard situation where their marriage is just rotten and the husband doesn't care, where they're wanting to reach some of their dreams, maybe having children or something like that, and it's not happening. So, am I saying, oh, just love it, be happy? No, I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is hold pain in one hand and hold I'm okay in the other hand. Accept that pain is happening, but it doesn't have to be your identity. It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to wear it as a cloak. It's just something that's happening in a part of you. And acknowledge that pain, accept that pain, feel that pain. Don't stuff it, don't ignore it, but understand that I can also truly and honestly say, and I'm okay. And this part of my life I love. And this one lady especially, and she's just amazing that I'm coaching right now, and she's ready to tell her story, and she is like, her marriage is not what anybody would dream of, and it's hard, and it's very, very hard. And for so long she stayed stuck in that hard. And I'm like, but what about you? Don't you want to be happy? Well, yeah, but I can't be. I'm like, oh yeah, you can be, because you just get to choose happy even in the midst of somebody who's not loving you. And she has started to just blossom. Is this better? Is the marriage better? Nope, it's not. She's going out, she's buying her flowers, she's doing the things that make her happy, she's owning her own happiness. Does she still feel pain? Yes, she does. But she's okay because she can take responsibility where that's one part of my life. But deep inside of me, I'm okay. And I can have fun and I can go and enjoy the things that my hobbies and the things that I enjoy. Before, she would just stay home because what if he wants me to stay here? What if he's going to come and want to be with me tonight? I'm just going to stay here waiting. That's hard. But to be able to hold both.
Wow, that's good stuff. Now, how long have you been coaching, Gloria?
Well, I'm kind of vague on that because this is part of the whole confidence journey thing. So when I started out being a health coach because through my own journey of the struggling with confidence, I learned so much about health and wellness and trying to fix my own health. And I had just a wealth of information with that. And so I decided I'm going to go ahead and become a health coach. So I did. I got that certification. And then I started health coaching people. And I started realizing that the people who were coming to me wanted me to fix them, wanted me to fix their, just tell me what to do, what not to do. Give me a list of foods I can eat. Give me a list of foods that I can't eat. And what do I need to do to get energy? What do I need to do? And they wanted that. And I'm like, but wait a minute. You have so much stress in your life. I could be telling you all of this stuff. You're not going to feel better. You're going to get a little bit better, but you're not going to feel better because of all the stress. They're like, well, I don't want to deal with, I mean, I can't deal with the stress. That's just the way my life is. But I need to feel better physically so that I don't feel so stressed. So part of this whole confidence thing, my own journey, I don't actually know how long I've been coaching, a couple of years, several years, but it's twisted and turned and it's morphed and it's coming into, oh, this is what this is supposed to look like. So I pivoted away from the health coaching. I still do coach on health, but I coach at it from a totally different perspective of what's going on in your life, what's messing up your health here. And so I do talk about that a lot. And then I got into the life coaching with that. And I have homeschooled for 19 years. So I really thought that I was going to coach a lot around homeschooling. And especially last year was a huge homeschooling thing, with 2020 and the pandemic and people like pulling their kids out. I'm like, I'm going to really hone in on that. Well, I quickly found out people were feeling a lack of confidence in homeschooling. Just tell me what to do. how do I do this? Steps 1, 2, and 3. Tell me which curriculum to use. Tell me this. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I would be on these forums and people would be like, oh, you have to use this curriculum. This curriculum is the best. And the person said, oh, I hated that curriculum. Don't use that curriculum. And I'm like, no. This is about knowing who you are as a mother, how you mother, how your kids learn, your lifestyle, and then finding the curriculum. So I really delved into that. But then I realized, along with everything else, if you're struggling here, I can tell you steps 1, 2, and 3, but you're still going to struggle if you don't have that confidence mindset. So long story, I've been coaching for a couple of years, but it's twisting and turning. So I have a really hard time answering that question.
Yes. So tell us a little bit, how did you come up with your podcast? So, because you're a mom to all these children, you're homeschooling, you're coaching. How did you come up with the idea to do a podcast?
Okay, so with that, I decided, and this is part of the confidence journey, was this whole thing of when I hit my 40s and we had the last 2 kids when I was like 38 and 40, and all of a sudden I'm like, hold it, I'm not sure who I am anymore besides being a mom. And it started kind of freaking me out. And I'm like, I have to find who I am also besides being a mom and a wife and a homeschooler. And I loved that. I really did. I mean, I still love that. I'm still doing it. But there was a part of me that is like, but there's more here to give. And so with my own journey, the lack of confidence, of course, showed up in the fact of, well, I need to have it all together before I help other people, before I put my podcast out there, right? Because what if I say, hey, create confidence, but I'm still struggling with confidence in this other area? I have to be perfect before I can do anything. But God worked with me on that. And God, this is where a lot of this came from. That parable of the talents in the Bible, of where, Jesus told the parable of where the master gave the different servants different talents. And, some had 5, some had 3, some had 2, some had 1. And I was that guy with the 1 talent. I wanted to bury it because I was afraid of what the master would say, and I didn't, and I was burying my talent, afraid till I have it right. And I kept thinking, someday when I have my act all together, then I'll do this kind of stuff. Well, I quickly realized I'm not going to get my act all together. Like that's not going to happen this side of heaven. And so as I started walking into this, but I'm a mom. And that's my first goal. I'm a mom. I'm a homeschooler. I have, all this stuff. So with all of this stuff, just really praying and leaning into, okay, God, this is how much time I have. What do you want me to do with that time? And so I've hired my own coaches. I've had all this stuff to help me with this because it is quite a process. But with the podcast, my thing was, I love Facebook and I love, all this stuff. But I'm like, I don't want to sit and watch somebody's Facebook. I don't have time for that, but I love podcasts. I love them. I listen to them all the time as I'm going, while I'm doing, while I'm cleaning, while I'm taking my walk, while I'm driving and doing errands. I'm listening to podcasts. So I'm like, okay, well, if I like that, my people probably like that. So that I'm like, but I don't have time to do a podcast on top of this. So I was already doing some teaching in the my Facebook group. I was doing it every week. I'm like, there has got to be a way that I could do one thing, repurpose it. So like you and I talked about last week, technology is not my strength. And this is like a huge confidence stopper of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but just that taking that next step. Oh, if I do it like this. So that's where the whole thing came in of like, I know that God has given me a message, not because of who I am, but because of who he is. Amen. And what he has given me. And I am so ready to just get that message out there because I know that there are so many women, and maybe it's in a religious setting, maybe it's in a non-religious setting, but we lack confidence.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
And our confidence is about who God made us just because he chose to,
Amen.
just because he said, I'm going to put you on this earth and it's for a purpose. And we all have a talent. So my whole point is my story is not my story for me alone. My story is my story to share, to point others to God. And that's what I feel about every woman that I meet. We all have a story. It all deserves to be shared.
Yes. And this is why we have Girlfriends Talking, because we
Absolutely.
have a story that we want to share. And so as our time is ending, I want to go over to the comment section and just look at the comments and see if there's any questions. And then we'll get back to the ways they can connect with you. And then we'll call it a day so you can enjoy the rest of your Saturday. So Deb says, good morning.
Hi, Deb. Oh, and Wendy, nice to meet you.
Deb said, less of me and more of him, John 3:30. Absolutely. Stephanie says, devil is a liar. We are more than enough for God. That is true. Easy trap to fall into. Yes, so many women fall into that we're not enough. Deb said, I was not raised in church, but I have always felt God around me. It had taken me right around 40 years to understand that I am the church. Lots of childhood drama with not being enough or never will I be enough. My Heavenly Father tells me otherwise. I am enough. Yes.
So good. So good.
That is so many of our stories, including myself. Deb says, what you think about, you bring about. Yes, it's the mindset we have to change. It's taking every thought captive. The mind will drive you crazy if you allow it to. Mindset is huge. So really quick, so we can go and catch you at www.coachingwithgloria.com. Mm-hmm. We can catch your podcast that's called Create Confidence. Yep. And did I miss anything? You're on Facebook?
Yes, I have a Facebook group, a free group. It's called Christian Ladies Create Confidence. And would love to have anybody join me over there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Gloria, thank you so very much for spending your Saturday morning with us. This conversation was amazing. I know it blessed so many women to know that they can create confidence in their life. And so thank you. And I look forward to having more conversations with you. I'm going to end the broadcast, but go ahead and stay in the green room. Girlfriends Talking, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Deb has one more comment, I believe. She says, we're commanded to love others. That starts with you, not taking self-care, but truly loving yourself as God loves you. And she says, thank you, girlfriends. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, girlfriends, we love you, and we'll see you soon.